"Mom, please don't die. Mom, please don't die." Those were the last words Tiffany Harris heard before her 14-year-old son put a bullet in her chest. The same child she had carried for 9 months, nursed through fevers, and promised would always have a home to come back to. 3 weeks before her murder, Tiffany posted on Facebook, "I want my children to always know if the relationship ain't working, come home. If the bills become overwhelming, come home. If you feel unsafe, come home." She meant it. Home was supposed to be sacred ground, but on September 16th, 2023, in a quiet Riverview neighborhood, home became a killing field. The woman who spent her life healing others was gunned down in her own living room. Not by a stranger, not by a burglar, by the boy whose diapers she changed, whose tears she wiped, whose future she worked herself to exhaustion to secure. The bullets didn't just tear through Tiffany's body. They shattered every promise she had ever made about keeping her family safe. Every prayer she whispered asking God to protect her household. Every sacrifice she made working long shifts at the convalescent center so her children would never go without. Riverview, Florida is the kind of place where neighbors still wave at each other, where kids ride bikes until the streetlights come on, where a single mother like Tiffany could believe that love and hard work were enough to shield her children from the violence that claims too many young black lives. The Summerfield subdivision on Linmore Drive looked like safety. Modest homes with small front yards. Families who knew each other's names. The kind of community where gunshots don't ring out on Saturday afternoons and mothers don't die at the hands of their own children. But evil doesn't need an invitation. It was already living inside Tiffany's house. Tiffany Harris was a caregiver by profession and by nature. At work, she lifted elderly patients who couldn't lift themselves. She fed those who couldn't feed themselves. She brought dignity to people the world had forgotten. Her co-workers described her as someone who never complained, never took shortcuts, never treated her patients like burdens. At home, she was the same woman, the mother who opened her doors to neighborhood kids who had nowhere else to go, who stretched grocery money to make sure no child left her house hungry, who worked herself to the bone so her 3 children would never feel abandoned or unloved. Her Facebook posts revealed a woman of deep faith, carrying an enormous load. "God, heal my household," she would write. "Give me strength to keep going." She believed that her love could overcome anything, that her prayers could protect her family from harm. She was wrong, and that mistake cost her everything. The woman who dedicated her life to healing others died trying to heal her own family. Tiffany lunged at her son, fighting to wrestle the gun from his hands. She chose to protect her boyfriend even when it meant facing down her own child with a loaded weapon. In her final moments, she was still being a caregiver, still putting others before herself, still believing that love could conquer the darkness that had consumed her youngest boy. The mother who promised her children would always have a safe place to come home to died, making sure someone else could go home alive. Tiffany posted about being a safe haven for her kids just weeks before this happened. Most of you will watch her story, feel sad for 30 seconds, then scroll to the next tragedy. If you actually believe mothers like Tiffany deserve more than your fleeting attention, subscribe and comment safe haven. Or maybe you think dead mothers are just weekend entertainment. Go ahead and explain in the comments why her story isn't worth a simple click. Every morning at 6:30, Tiffany Harris would drag herself out of bed after maybe 4 hours of sleep. She'd shower, grab coffee that had gone cold, and drive to the convalescent center where broken people waited for her gentle hands. Her patients couldn't walk, couldn't feed themselves, couldn't remember their own names. But they remembered Tiffany, the way she talked to them like they mattered, how she never rushed through their care or treated them like objects to be moved from bed to wheelchair and back again. She lifted bodies that had given up on themselves, changed adult diapers without flinching, spoon-fed pureed meals to people who had once been teachers, mechanics, mothers themselves. The work was backbreaking, thankless, and paid barely enough to keep her own family afloat. But Tiffany never complained.
"I don't want to hurt you, bro. I do not want to shoot you. Put it down. You don't want to end it this way. You don't want to end it this way, brother. I promise you. Whatever happened today, it can be fixed. Don't pull the trigger. Put it down. Adeem, put it down, buddy. Don't do it, man. Put it down. Don't know what you're gonna do. When you get to over here, I'm gonna have you, listen to me, I'm gonna have you lay down on the ground and my gun is going in my holster, I promise you. If you will walk toward me.
Not once, because she understood what it meant to be forgotten by the world. At 5 o'clock, when her shift ended, Tiffany's real work began. She'd drive home to Linmore Drive, where 3 children waited for the only parent they had left. Lindra, her oldest, was 20 and pregnant with Tiffany's first grandchild. Devin was navigating the minefield of being a teenage boy in America. And Adeem, just 14, still needed his mother for everything. Single motherhood is a special kind of exhaustion. There's no tag team. No backup when you're sick or overwhelmed or just need 5 minutes to breathe. Every decision falls on your shoulders. Every bill, every school meeting, every scraped knee and broken heart. Tiffany carried it all without breaking. She worked overtime when the electricity bill came due. She stayed up late helping with homework after 12-hour shifts on her feet. She stretched ground beef into meals for 4 and pretended she wasn't hungry when there wasn't enough to go around.
Toward that thing, man. Walk toward me with your hands up. I'm gonna walk you through every process. Please don't pick that back up. Please don't. Hey, one person talking. Please don't pick that back up. I got you. I'm telling you, I got you. Listen to how this will go. If you'll walk out to me with your hands up in the air. When you get to about right here, I'm gonna have you lay down on the ground. My gun is going in the holster. Bet that. It's going in the holster. Don't pick it up, Adeem. Don't do it, buddy. Don't do it. You made such a good choice putting it down, bro. Just leave it on the ground, Adeem. Walk all the way out. All the way. Keep coming. Keep coming to me. Keep coming to me. Keep coming. I'm going to tell you when to stop. Keep coming to me, bud. Keep coming. Keep coming. Come on. You're good, bro. You're good. You're good. Keep walking toward me. Hadeem, don't do it, bud. Keep on. Keep on. Keep on. Keep on. Keep coming toward me. Keep coming toward me. The pavement's going to be hot. What I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you lay down on the grass. Lay down on the grass. Lay down in the grass. Lay down in the grass. Lay down in the grass. Watch. Lay all the way down. My gun is going in its holster. Somebody's got cover. All right. Hey.
Her Facebook posts told the story of a woman running on empty, but refusing to quit. God, give me strength to keep going. She would write at 2 in the morning. Heal my household. Let no weapon formed against my children prosper. The prayers of a mother who knew the world was dangerous for young black children. Tiffany was tired of being taken advantage of, tired of people who loved her only for what she could give them. She wrote about feeling used, about pouring herself out for others who never poured anything back. But she kept giving anyway, because that's who she was. The grandmother role was supposed to be different, easier. More joy, less responsibility. Lindra's baby was due in a few months, and Tiffany talked constantly about holding her first grandchild, about spoiling that baby the way she never got to spoil her own children, because money was always too tight. She had names picked out, nursery ideas saved on Pinterest, and plans to teach her grandchild everything she knew about surviving in a world that doesn't always value black lives.
18-year-old is facing felony charges tonight. Detectives say he shot and killed his mother and also shot her boyfriend. Annie Mapp is live in the Riverview neighborhood where it happened Saturday. Annie, what do you know tonight?
Stacey, detectives say this shooting happened during an argument between the victim and her boyfriend. I spoke to her family members off camera today, and they say this tragedy is heartbreaking, as not only have they lost that mother, but now her son is also facing time behind bars. Tiffany Harris was 39 years old and originally from Tallahassee. Detectives say her life was cut short after her own son shot her.
I can't ever imagine any dispute over anything being that important that you would murder your own mother.
Sheriff Chad Chronister says the 14-year-old male suspect also shot his mother's boyfriend 5 times. He was taken to a hospital and is now stable. Detectives say concerned neighbors called 911 after hearing the gunshots and seeing the teen running with a handgun in the Summerfield subdivision. I thought something serious must be happening because this is a quiet neighborhood, and never in the time that I've lived here with my daughter had we seen anything like this. Deputies who responded to the scene say the suspect threatened suicide. It took 16 minutes of negotiation and striking the teen with the projectile to get him into custody.
Lay down in the grass. Watch. Lay all the way down. My gun is going in its holster. Somebody's got cover.
Now the teen faces felony charges that include murder in the second degree with the weapon, attempted murder in the first degree premeditated firearm, and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon.
This is one of nightmares. This is heartbreaking.
The sheriff's office is still investigating this incident, and of course, as we learn more details, we will have those for you on air and online. Stacy?
Curious, Annie, did the 14-year-old suspect have a criminal history?
Stacy, Sheriff Chad Chronister said this teen had no prior criminal history, and the only previous call registered to this home from the sheriff's office was for a report of a stolen vehicle.
After years of carrying everything alone, Tiffany Harris decided to take a chance on love again. His name was Cortivius Cruz, but in Riverview's small music scene, people knew him as AQL. He was a local rapper, someone who performed at small venues and dreamed of making it bigger. To Tiffany, he represented something she hadn't had in years: companionship. Someone to share the weight of daily life. Someone to talk to after the kids went to bed. Someone who might understand that she was more than just a mother and caregiver. Their relationship was only a month old when everything fell apart. Still in that honeymoon phase, where every conversation feels important and every shared moment feels like possibility. Cortivius would later describe Tiffany as loving and selfless, a woman who put her children first even while trying to build something new. But bringing a new man into a house with 3 children is never simple. Devin and Adim had been the men of the house for years, not by choice, but by necessity. When you're raised by a single mother, you learn to carry responsibilities that other kids don't have to think about. You become protective. You become suspicious of anyone who might hurt the woman who sacrifices everything for you. Cortivius tried to find his place in their routine. He'd sit on the couch watching television with the boys, attempting small talk, looking for common ground. But there's an awkwardness that comes with these situations. A new man in your mother's life means change, and change feels threatening when your world has already been unstable. For Adim especially, the adjustment was difficult. At 14, he was quiet by nature. Teachers described him as a student who kept to himself, never caused trouble, never drew attention. No disciplinary problems, no red flags that anyone could see. But quiet doesn't always mean peaceful. Sometimes quiet means a storm building inside where no one can see it. Adim watched his mother divide her attention between work, her children, and this new relationship. He saw Cortivius sitting in their living room, occupying space that had belonged only to family. The stress of blended families is real even when everyone has good intentions. Tiffany was trying to balance being a girlfriend with being a mother. She wanted her children to accept Cortivius, but she also needed them to respect her choice to find happiness after years of loneliness. Cortivius was walking a tightrope too. He couldn't come on too strong with the boys, or they'd reject him. But he couldn't be too distant, or Tiffany might think he didn't care about her children. Every conversation, every shared meal, every moment in their home required careful navigation. What none of them realized was that the pressure was building toward an explosion that would destroy everything they were trying to build. The warning signs were invisible to everyone who mattered. Adim's teachers saw a quiet, well-behaved student. His family saw a boy who kept to himself, but never caused problems. There were no outbursts, no violence, no indication that rage was festering beneath the surface. Maybe it was the stress of watching his mother work herself to death. Maybe it was resentment about sharing her attention with a stranger. Maybe it was something deeper, something that had been growing long before Cortivius entered their lives. We'll never know what thoughts consumed Adim in the weeks leading up to September 16th. What we do know is that Tiffany was trying to heal her family while building something new. She deserved the chance to find love without her children paying the ultimate price. Every family has fractures they hide from the world. Tiffany was trying to heal hers while building something new. If you recognize the courage it takes to love again after being hurt, subscribe, and comment second chances. Or maybe you think single mothers should stay alone forever. Explain in the comments why Tiffany didn't deserve happiness. September 16th, 2023 started like any other Saturday in the Harris household. Tiffany was off work, a rare gift that let her stay home with her children instead of rushing to the convalescent center. The Florida heat was already building by afternoon, but inside the house on Linmore Drive, the air conditioning kept things comfortable. Cortivius Cruz was sitting on the living room couch with Adeem, both of them watching television. Nothing unusual about the scene. Just a man trying to bond with his girlfriend's son, sharing the kind of quiet moment that families take for granted. But something shifted in Adeem's demeanor. Cruz would later tell investigators that the 14-year-old began staring off into space, his eyes fixed but vacant, like he was looking through him instead of at him. When Cruz asked if he was okay, there was no response. The boy simply stood up and walked out of the room without saying a word. Cruz stayed on the couch, unsure what to make of the strange interaction. Maybe Adeem was tired. Maybe he was upset about something at school. Maybe he just didn't want to watch television anymore. There was no reason to think anything dangerous was about to happen. The house remained quiet. Tiffany was somewhere else in the home, probably doing laundry or cleaning, or one of the 1,000 tasks that fill a mother's Saturday. Devin was nearby, going about his own business. Life was moving forward in the ordinary rhythm that families know well. Then Adeem returned to the living room. This time, he wasn't empty-handed. In his grasp was a gun, and before Cruz could fully process what he was seeing, the shooting began. The first bullet tore through Cruz's hand as he instinctively raised it to protect himself. The second bullet hit his other hand, then his shoulder, his jaw, his leg. 5 shots in total, each one meant to kill. Cruz later described the attack as relentless and without warning. No argument had preceded it. No heated words or escalating tension. Just a 14-year-old boy methodically emptying a gun into a man who had been trying to build a relationship with him. The pain was immediate and overwhelming. Cruz's hands were mangled, blood pouring from multiple wounds, but somehow he remained conscious. Somehow he was still alive when the gunfire stopped and Adeem turned away from his bleeding body. The sound of shots echoed through the house, and Tiffany Harris heard them. A mother's instinct doesn't hesitate when her family is in danger. She ran toward the noise and found a scene that would have broken most people. Her boyfriend bleeding and struggling to breathe, and her youngest son holding the weapon that had just destroyed another human being. In that moment, Tiffany had a choice. She could have run. She could have called for help. She could have tried to save herself. Instead, she chose to fight for someone else's life. Tiffany lunged at her son, wrestling him for control of the gun. This was the woman who had lifted elderly patients for years, who had carried the weight of single motherhood without breaking. She used every ounce of strength she had to try to disarm the child she had raised. But Adeem still had bullets left. As they struggled, he fired again. The shot struck Tiffany in the chest, and she fell to the floor of her own home. The woman who had promised her children would always have a safe place to return to died, trying to make that promise real for someone else. Devin witnessed his mother's final moments. He saw his younger brother point the gun in his direction next, and made the only choice that would keep him alive. He ran from the house, carrying the memory of what he had seen and the knowledge that his family was gone forever. Tiffany died fighting to disarm her own child. She chose love over self-preservation in her final moments. If you understand that kind of sacrificial love, subscribe and comment Mother's Love. But if you think she should have saved herself instead, defend that position in the comments and tell us why you won't subscribe to honor her choice. Within minutes of the shooting, 911 calls flooded the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. Neighbors reported seeing a teenage boy running through the Summerfield subdivision with a gun in his hands. Some callers said he was pointing the weapon at his own head. Others described him pacing in the street like he had lost his mind. Deputies arrived to find Adeem Harris in the middle of Linmore Drive, a handgun pressed against his temple. Their body cameras captured every second of what became a 16-minute standoff between trained officers and a 14-year-old boy who had just murdered his mother. The footage is heartbreaking to watch. A child so consumed by whatever darkness had taken hold of him that death seemed like the only way out. Officers calling his name, begging him to put the weapon down, promising him that whatever had happened could be fixed. "Don't do it, man. Put it down. Walk toward me. It doesn't have to end this way." The deputies' voices were calm, measured, never escalating despite the tension. They knew one wrong word could trigger the boy to pull that trigger. At least 6 times, Adim raised the gun to his head. Each time, officers held their breath, waiting to see if they were about to witness a child suicide. Sheriff Chad Chronister would later praise his deputies for textbook de-escalation, never rushing, never letting panic take control. Meanwhile, Cortivius Cruz was fighting for his life. He had dragged himself from the couch where he'd been shot, leaving a trail of blood through the house and out onto the driveway. Neighbors found him collapsed, barely conscious, his body riddled with bullets that should have killed him. Paramedics rushed him to Tampa General Hospital in critical condition. For days, Cruz drifted in and out of consciousness. His hands were mangled beyond recognition. His jaw was wired shut. Bullets had torn through his shoulder and leg, leaving scars he'll carry forever. Doctors weren't sure he would survive, but somehow his body refused to give up. When he finally woke up and could speak, his words were filled with grief for the woman who had died trying to save him. He told reporters that Tiffany was loving and selfless, the kind of person who gave more than she ever kept for herself. Devin Harris has remained silent about what he witnessed that day. Unlike other family members who have spoken to the media, he has kept his trauma locked inside. Some pain runs too deep for words, and watching your mother die at the hands of your brother creates wounds that may never heal. The Summerfield neighborhood was left reeling. Residents who had waved at Tiffany as she came home from work couldn't reconcile the tragedy with the woman they knew. Children who had eaten at her table when they had nowhere else to go struggled to understand how violence had found its way into the safest place they knew. At Tiffany's workplace, co-workers remembered her patience with difficult patients, her ability to bring comfort to the dying, her dedication to people others had given up on. Churches across Riverview held vigils, trying to make sense of a loss that felt senseless. The standoff finally ended when officers fired a less lethal round, forcing Adim to drop the weapon. He was taken into custody alive, but the damage was already done. A 14-year-old held a gun to his head for 16 minutes, while his mother lay dead inside. If you think children in crisis deserve intervention, not abandonment, subscribe and comment. Intervention matters. Or maybe you believe some kids are beyond saving. Justify that in the comments while explaining why this story doesn't deserve your subscription. Within days of Tiffany Harris's murder, prosecutors made a decision that split the community down the middle. 14-year-old Adim Berry would be charged as an adult with second-degree murder, attempted first-degree premeditated murder, and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Under Florida law, juveniles as young as 14 can be transferred to adult court when facing charges as severe as murder. Prosecutors cited the violent nature of the crime, the use of a firearm, and the impact on multiple victims as reasons for treating a child like a grown man. The case was filed under number 23-CF-014802A in Circuit Criminal Division E. As of 2025, no verdict has been reached. The legal process continues with delays that are common in cases involving both juveniles and capital-level offenses. If convicted on all counts, Adim could spend the rest of his life in prison. The decision to prosecute a 14-year-old as an adult ignited fierce debate across social media and in Riverview's community centers. Some argued that age should matter, that children's brains aren't fully developed, that rehabilitation should take priority over punishment. Others countered that Tiffany Harris deserved justice, that her life mattered more than her killer's age, that some crimes are so heinous they demand adult consequences regardless of who commits them. The comment sections of news articles became battlegrounds between those who saw a child in need of help and those who saw a murderer who deserved no mercy. But lost in the legal arguments was a more troubling question. How did a quiet 14-year-old with no history of violence get access to a gun? Investigators never revealed where the weapon came from, but Tiffany's mother was clear about what needed to happen. She called on families everywhere to secure their firearms. Teresa Harris, grieving the loss of her daughter, made securing guns a central part of her public statements. Everybody needs to be held responsible for not keeping guns in safe places, she said, her voice breaking with the weight of a grandmother who had lost everything. Her words weren't about politics. They were about prevention, about making sure no other family would endure what hers had suffered, about ensuring that children couldn't access weapons as easily as her grandson apparently had. The mental health question loomed just as large. Adeem had no prior criminal record, no school suspensions, no documented behavioral problems. Teachers described him as quiet and well-behaved. There were no red flags that anyone could see, which made the violence even more shocking. Was this the result of untreated trauma, undiagnosed mental illness, or simply one moment of uncontrollable rage that destroyed multiple lives forever? The silence around Adeem's mental state before the shooting reveals a larger failure in how we identify and help children in crisis. Schools are overwhelmed, parents are exhausted, and mental health resources for teenagers are scarce and expensive. By the time warning signs become visible, it's often too late. The system waits for children to break before offering help, then punishes them when they shatter completely.